Okay, we can speak now to Laura Blumenfeld, former State Department Senior Policy Advisor for the Middle East. Laura, always good to have you here on BBC News. I want to start with Bibi Netanyahu's visit here in Washington. We know that some Democrats have said that they are boycotting. They're not going to attend his address. And this comes, of course, as we saw those images of those protests at the Capitol as well. What impact do you think that has on the Prime Minister and his message that he is set to deliver?
Well, he's come to Washington to try to rehabilitate Israel's image and his own on the world stage. The problem is that right now, Washington is descending into a three-ring political circus. One of the rings is the chaos on Capitol Hill. I spoke to a staffer this evening who said, we are bracing for a storm. It's like Hollywood, Florida before a hurricane. I mean, they're concerned that it could even turn violent. And then those meetings with, he thought he was coming to meet with one president, Biden, but now he has three high-stakes meetings. One is the current president who's withdrawn from the race. The other is the presidential nominee for the Democrats, or the presumptive one, Kamala Harris, where he has a new relationship really to establish with her. And look, he's hedging everywhere. He's flying down to Florida to meet with Donald Trump just in case he's president. So he's got a lot on his plate and a lot at stake. When he came to Washington last time, it was 2020. He was representing an ascendant Israel, coming to sign a ceremony in the White House lawn, the Abraham Accords, for greater regional integration and peace. In 2024, it's a totally different picture. It's much darker, but his hope is he can leave with a little bit of light.
Yeah, given that picture, what do you think he is specifically trying to achieve?
Well, like I said, in those meetings with the future president of the United States, he's hedging everywhere to make sure that he gets what he needs. First of all, validation. More than anything, he wants to hear from the world and from any president, you're right in your fight. And I think that he's looking for some satisfaction in that. But from a practical point of view, it's weapons. I mean, America's allies are heavily dependent on weapons. It's kind of our love language to the world, which, as absurd as it sounds, that's what it comes down to in the end for those American allies who are fighting.
Laura, it comes as there seems to be little to no progress at all towards a ceasefire and release of hostages. Why is that? Why is this process still so stuck?
It's stuck, but I'm hopeful that it might become unstuck for the reasons that it has been stuck. For Netanyahu, it's been a lot about domestic politics and just his concern about alienating the right wing of his coalition. But the good news is that in a week, his parliament, the Knesset, is going to a 3-month recess. So even if he conveys some kind of flexibility and accedes to the demands that Biden has put on him, and then there's an opportunity for him to go forward with the ceasefire, to finally listen to those hostage families who are demanding the release of their loved ones, and not risk losing his government. For Biden, now that he's withdrawn from the political race, it kind of frees him up and gives him a little bit of room to maneuver and focus on this as a legacy issue, including his key national security officials. And finally, for Hamas, I am somewhat hopeful. I mean, Netanyahu's approach has been escalation as negotiation, shoot now, negotiate later, talk later. And he's claiming that it's working. We'll see. But that Hamas is under, increasing military pressure from Israel, and then from within, political pressure from his own population in Gaza. They're fed up with the war too, and so there's some hope that Hamas also will be willing to compromise.
We've just got about 30 seconds left, Laura. But in that time, could you tell us how close a relationship is between Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump? He's making that visit on Friday.
Well, the advice I would give Netanyahu is don't grovel. I mean, they're at odds with each other. The last thing that Trump said regarding Netanyahu publicly was F Netanyahu. He was so angry that Netanyahu had called to congratulate President Biden. Don't grovel. He'll want a gift. The gift I'm worried he'll want is the Saudi normalization deal, which would mean that would push that into the next administration, which would be a shame.
Laura, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
Now, another